It was snowing yesterday, and then today it is 60 degrees and sunny. Welcome to Kansas. I have been behind for the last few days because we got a little bit of a cold spell. It did snow. We had feel likes in the 20s, but our actual temperature was still above 30, so I really didn't have to worry too much about anything. I did take precaution and just cover a few things because our weather people are always wrong. So I do need to get some things uncovered, but we ended up getting some snow for a few hours. Nothing really stuck or anything. It was a really cold day yesterday, to say the least. Hi, girls. One thing I am actually wanting to do with the chicken area is move their little portable fence. I actually want to build like a full-on permanent fence versus having this thing, but it is nice that I can move that. So yeah, plants don't feel like temperatures like we do, so you really don't have to worry too much if your feel like is going to drop below the 32. I will say my wind block for the onions really seems to be doing its job. Has really been tested. We've had anywhere between like 60 to 75 mile per hour wind gusts multiple times now. I did adjust it a little bit and I put some sticks to help kind of just support it in these middle areas, but overall I think it's really helping out because the wind was insane. We are roughly a little under 4 weeks away from our average last frost at the moment. We are actually going to be getting tomatoes started after I get a few things done. So I totally forgot to tell you guys this because I wanted to walk around the coop area or walk around our backyard and see if there was like any digging underneath the fence, because last night our cameras caught a fox in the backyard. Like, we've seen foxes in our front like run by, but I've never seen them in the backyard. Saw it trying to figure out the chicken coop, which is something very new. Like, we've had possums, skunks, raccoons back here, but I've never had to deal with a fox back here yet. If it would be anything, it would be that right there, because this is the area I also saw the fox, and that is the only digging I see all around. I'm going to get this area freshened up. I have some wood chips. I typically will redo this space once a year where I put more wood chips down. I might go get more mulch down as well. I just want this area to look a little bit nicer. Right now you can't really tell where the walkways are at. That looks so much better. Finally made a decision on the strawberries. I'm going to put strawberries over here. I'm gonna put my cage over it. At least that is my hope. Maybe I should try to put the cage up here before I plant anything here. Yeah. Ooh, I like that. Without the strawberries being caged up, I've had terrible luck with squirrels and birds. Those are the one things like they love. So the cage really does help with that. I do have a full video on how we built that if you're interested. I want to say we built it 3 years ago now, and it's worked really well. We built it in mind where I could throw a few chickens in it if I ever wanted them to scratch an area. It's worked better for the cats than it has the chickens. So the pH is more alkaline in this soil. We're sitting at probably a 7.5, and strawberries like it closer to a 5 to a 6. They like it a little bit more acidic. So what I'm going to do before I plant is I'm going to add some of this soil acidifier. This will help drop the pH of the soil. I also probably should sprinkle some of this on my blueberries as well, but I plan to actually plant my blueberries somewhere else. I have them in a pot at the moment, but I typically use this every year for blueberries, and strawberries also like it a little bit more acidic. So I am going to toss some of this into the garden bed, and then I'm also going to add bone meal, because everywhere else in the garden so far has been the mixture of just needing more nitrogen and phosphorus. So I am going to add that in, and then I am going to grab these strawberries real quick. I'm really excited because the strawberries I took out of the garden in the fall because I wasn't sure where I wanted to put them this year, and I successfully kept them alive in the basement over winter, and they're doing really well. They've already flowered a little bit. I was getting strawberries over the winter time, so that was really good because I really didn't want to like toss them, and I really didn't want to plant them in the fall somewhere else because I really wasn't sure where I wanted to put them. And then what I'll probably do is in a month's time or so, I will retest if the strawberries aren't doing well. pH can really affect how plants absorb different nutrients, and that's why it's important. Most of the time it's really not a big deal. Most of the time it's not off, but those times that it is off, it can really affect your plants. One of the things I did in the fall was I made sure to pot up young plants and also runners that have rooted. That way these plants are roughly 1 year old or so, and they're younger plants. So hopefully they'll produce a good amount for me this year. You know what I'm realizing? I have not seen a single grub yet, and typically I would have seen grubs. The last handful of years, I've been treating grubs with beneficial nematodes, which is an organic way of doing it. It ends up being a beneficial parasite that will eat at the grubs. And I've sprayed those in the garden for a few years, and I'm honestly shocked I haven't seen any. I think at this point last year, I was already collecting like 30, 40, 50 of them, like a lot. And the only thing I'm really seeing when I dig into the soil is worms. Like our soil looks really good this year. Here are all of the weeds from those 6 garden beds, which feels really nice to get done. I'm gonna go sprinkle these over in the chicken area. They'll enjoy pecking at it, and they'll probably like eat a little bit of it and whatnot. Let's see how many eggs we got for the day. It's so much fun getting eggs, especially this time of year when there's not much coming out of the garden. I had to water with a watering can for about a week and a half. And I'm not gonna lie, it was starting to get pretty old pretty quickly. So I think it was 2 videos ago now, I turned on my hose. There was an area that was a hole, and then also my watering wand looks like it expanded at some point. I took it off, and I don't understand how that happened because I was very cautious of keeping these things on during winter. But they have hose repair kits, which I honestly didn't know existed, and we fixed it, and now I have a new watering wand, and this is 10 times better. Oh my gosh, I will never not be thankful for modern day watering. I was having to fill up my watering can like twice per 8x4 garden bed. Let's go in, honeys. Yeah, come on. Honey. One of the areas I'm not planning on doing foliar feeds, I'm planning on doing foliar feeds everywhere else, and maybe I will change my mind on this, but the onions. So I'm gonna go ahead and use my watering can here. And that's just because I had the issues with the onions last year. So I'm just trying to avoid any extra moisture on the greens as much as possible. With the garlic, I had amazing results doing foliar feeds. So I'm doing that with the garlic again this year and pretty much everything else. And this is exactly what I do while my seeds are inside. I bottom water with the exact same stuff. So when you do a foliar feed, what's really cool about it, because people will also do this with worm cast tea, and I'm doing it with a fish and seaweed fertilizer, is those nutrients are actually able to be absorbed through the greens, the foliar of the plants, versus it going to the roots and soaking it up through the soil and all that. So a little bit different, and I had amazing results doing this last year. Last year was the first time I ever did foliar feeding, and it's the only way I did all of my fertilizing. And again, my onions were beautiful. I had some of my best onions ever. I just had issues with curing, and if I can avoid a little bit more moisture on the greens at all times, I think that's going to help me out. I don't know. I'm experimenting with a few things this year, but overall, I love, love, love foliar feeds, and I think it's just really quick and easy just to spray everything really quickly. So let's see here. I have a few things I need to direct sow, but this weekend we're gonna go get a mixture of compost and soil and fill up a bunch of pots. There's a few other areas I wanna touch with that as well. And I have all of those in here. I can also start sowing carrots in the next week. Ooh, I need to double check peas. I had a few peas pop up, but it's not looking like all of them popped up, so I might need to re-sow those. So I totally forgot that I got these Kukuzi gourd seeds, which is a gourd. It kind of looks like a loofah, but you can harvest them and cook them like a zucchini. And since I have way better luck with gourd versus squash varieties, I figured I would at least try to plant one of these on the trellis alongside the loofah. So I'm going to start a few of these today. And then I have all of my tomatoes here. So I am growing tried and true paste tomatoes. So I actually like to grow all determinate varieties. I love paste varieties. I don't grow any beefsteak varieties. From time to time, I do dabble in cherry tomatoes. But these are tried and trues, and there's one last year I tried and I really, really liked it, which is this Inca Jules here. I loved this so much. This was probably the most compact Roma variety I have actually grown, and it produced so many tomatoes for me, and it did really, really well rebounding and giving me a second wave as well. So I really, really enjoyed these. So I plan to grow more of those. I also am growing the Supremo for the third year in a row. The first year I grew it, it got hit with blight, and we had a very, very hot and dry summer that year. So it really didn't do too well for me, but this last year, it was my top producer in the garden. It did so well for me. It gave me multiple waves. These Roma tomatoes were absolutely beautiful. And then I'm also just growing a classic Roma variety. So a classic Roma variety versus this Supremo, which a Supremo is also a Roma. All three of these are a Roma variety. In my experience, the classic Roma will still get to be about 5.5 feet tall, when this Supremo variety has really averaged probably closer to 3.5, 4 feet on me, so it's a little bit more compact. This Inca Jules is actually titled Container Roma Tomatoes, and this one was just like the Supremo as far as how compact it was. So I really like that because these are high producing varieties, but they're also just very compact. So I'm able to fit a good amount of them in my garden versus just my classic Roma. I like to plant these classic Romas in some of my bigger grow bags where they're a little bit further apart, or I plant them kind of on the edging of my bed so they can kind of spread out just a little bit more. But those are the 3 tomatoes I am growing. I'm also going to start some tomatillo seeds. So I wasn't fully positive if I was going to plant this or not because I initially decided I was only going to do 1. And then when I did my seed haul, a ton of people commented that it's almost necessary to plant 2 just so you have a cross pollination and get a good amount. The only problem is like I don't really need that many. I really liked what I did last year with a lot of the green tomatoes I had left come into the fall. I used those just like I would a tomatillo. I made some salsa verde, and I also made like a green tomato pie, which is just like an apple pie, like so good. And that's typically like things you can do with tomatillos as well. But I'm really curious on this, and I think I'm going to have this space for it in some pots. So I'm gonna plant a few of these as well. And then I'm just starting some basil, lemon basil, and parsley today. And that is going to be it. I think I need to mix up some more soil, but I'm probably gonna use up what I have already in here first. I personally only grow paste varieties for the reason I like to make tomato products, and typically your beefsteak varieties are a little bit more watery and liquidy than a lot of your paste varieties. I'm also just not a raw tomato eater. I'll eat them from my garden, but I still prefer a paste tomato. I feel like they're a little bit more dense in flavor, and I personally like that better. I make a ton of salsa. I really think we're going to fully have a year's worth of salsa, and that'll be my very first time ever achieving that. Going into this year, one thing I want to do a little bit differently is I want to preserve more crushed tomatoes versus tomato sauce. I don't know. I still want to do some tomato sauce, but I've been reaching for my crushed tomatoes 9 out of 10 times throughout this entire like fall, winter, and spring. I really like them because I can cook them down and they still have a chunkier texture, which I really like for pizza. It also works really well just for pastas, chilies. Like I really like my crushed tomatoes, and I don't think I'm gonna have enough crushed tomatoes. So I'm gonna have to reevaluate a little bit more come probably like June and July when I'm starting to get more like tomatoes and things out of the garden. Another thing I wanna do more of is last year I dehydrated tomato skins after peeling them when I was doing crushed tomatoes and salsa, and I really liked that. I went through my tomato powder so quickly. It was so nice because it almost acted like a tomato paste where say you just want like a little bit more depth in your like sauce, or you need to thicken something. I freeze dried a lot of mine, and the freeze dried liquid absorbs water really well. So it kind of was a thickener for me, and it added extra tomato, which I really liked. Ooh, and I also used it for rice a lot. At the beginning, I went through it so quickly. They're just a little sprinkle of goodness. Ooh, if I need 2 tomatillos, I should probably be starting 3. All right, here is everything. It's on some heat mats at the moment with humidity domes. I gave everything a spritz with my water bottle, but here are the other seedlings, the dahlias, snapdragons, different peppers here, and also different peppers over here. Well guys, I think this is going to finish today's video. I hope you guys had a beautiful first day of spring. I know I sure did. It felt so good to get so much of this stuff accomplished. I will be doing so much over the next week, so I'm sure I will grab the camera and take you guys along, but thank you so much for hanging out with me today. If you want to watch some more videos, I'll tag a few you might be interested down below here, and I'll see you guys all in the next one. Bye.
Bye.